From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News.
Good evening, Fairbanks, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Stephanie Woodard, live outside of the Carlson Center. Leading today's news, Alaska Natives from around the state organized one of their favorite events during the Elders and Youth Conference that's called Men's House and Women's House. News Center 11's Tyson Paris Hansen has more now in this report.
For many at the conference, the activity called Men's and Women's House is one of the most popular events. The Organizational Advancement Director for the First Alaskans Institute says it's common in Native culture for men and women to talk about things away from each other.
Traditionally, in many of our cultures, we have created space within our villages, in our communities, for men to be able to talk with men, the young men, the babies, the women, young ladies, to talk about the issues that are important to us. So that's why we've done it.
This is a very special time for men and women to talk about any issue they find important. Organizers wanted to maintain the sacred space, and they asked us not to record the groups of men and women. The women gathered in front of the stage around different tables. The men gathered in a separate room in one big circle.
We're very intentional about not telling them what to talk about because we just want to create the space for them to talk about the issues that are on their heart. And so we don't guide what that conversation is. It's going to be a different conversation at every table, and that's one of the things that's really great about it.
One of the issues brought up in the large circle of men was the importance of hunting skills in a technology-filled culture. Another speaker said, "Loving words are very powerful. For him, every once in a while it's nice to say, 'Thanks for being here. You're doing a good job.'" Tyson Paris Hansen, News Center 11.
Now, Fairbanks has been preparing for the annual Alaska Federation of Natives Convention as it returns to the interior for the first time since 2010. Tomorrow, the convention officially begins after this week's pre-convention conferences. Beginning at 8 a.m. with a welcome dance performance from the Tanana traditional dancers, the convention will tackle issues such as tribal and federal relations, traditional Native values and culture, and how Alaska legislature affects Natives. The convention will run through Saturday the 26th, and interior residents are prepared for thousands to visit Fairbanks.
We are very excited to have our friends, family, and everybody visit the community. Fairbanks is such a great community at hosting this event that everybody gets involved. You'll see people all over town in the restaurants and the stores. It's like old friend week, old family week, so everybody's looking forward to it.
Well, we are joined now by Mike Schultz as we've been out here all week, Mike. Lots of events going on inside during the Elders and Youth Conference. This is a big event for Fairbanks. It draws thousands, right?
There's a big event going on right now, too,
yeah,
as we speak. Over at the Big Dipper, there's a potlatch going on. They're going to serve 3,500 people there.
Greg Bringhurst, who we just saw earlier, did discuss that. 3,500 people, they were needing over 600 volunteers. Now, that's how much it takes to feed that many people who come into this event.
It's a wide variety of food, too, I can imagine.
It sure is. Also, another important thing going on tomorrow is the opening with the traditional dancers. They're going to be tackling issues, like we stated, such as federal and tribal relations. We're going to have some senators here. It's going to be a great time.
And the dancers are always wonderful to watch. I mean, they tell a story when they're dancing out there, and they, of course, with the music and everything. I've had a chance to see them quite a bit since I've been here, and it's always mesmerizing to watch them dance.
That's right. Yesterday, some of the dancers actually said dancing is so important to their culture because they actually pass that down. That tells historical stories and things. They pass that down generation to generation.
Yeah, it's fun to watch on the stage and watch the little people join in with them and dancing, because, you know, not only are they having a good time, but they're learning the culture so they can in turn grow up and become elders and pass it along to other ones.
Also, along with the Elders and Youth Conference, we talked to some of the youth that actually spoke last night, tackling issues such as suicide, drug and alcohol abuse. They had elders speak to them about different ways that they could go a different route and inspire other teens.
Yeah, you've been talking this week with some of the youths, and it's been really, uplifting to see all that they've learned and all they're going to be able to, in turn, pass on to their other young ones.
And actually, we're joined right now by Aurora. Aurora, come on over here. Impromptu. So, Aurora, hi. So tell us a little bit about how these cultural things impact the convention.
Well, they really are the, I guess, kind of the flagship events. Quiana is a highlight for most people who are coming into town, and also anyone watching on TV, and online. And they help us carry on the traditions, and they also have some really great social implications. Some of the youth groups are, maybe there's some troubled youth and they need an outlet and something to aspire to, have some great role models. So, there's just so much that these cultural events bring.
We are really looking forward to that coming up here tomorrow, 8 a.m. More dancers, the Tanana dancers. Yes. So we are actually going to bring Mike Schultz back in for another look at weather. Mike, can you give us a preview about what's going on with weather? We're cold out here.
We've been talking about cold temperatures all week. They are definitely here, Stephanie. Make no mistake about that. And we're looking at colder air coming in this weekend. We may even see some snow for the first time in a long time.
Shh, he's just kidding.
No, I'm not.
All right, well, thanks, Mike. Now stick around because we'll be back in the studio with Daryl and Joe, so come back.
And welcome back to the Broadcast Center and welcome back to the Fairbanks Evening News. I'm Daryl Clark. In other news this evening, the legislature's Alaska Arctic Policy Commission has been meeting for the last 2 days and wrapped up their discussions today. The commission was created last year to study policies and regulations that will impact Alaska as changes in the Arctic continue. Lisa McGuire, state senator from Alaska District K, says this commission is a good starting point to ensure that future actions will result in positive steps toward attaining affordable energy, not only for Alaska, but for the entire country.
I'm very hopeful about what I'm hearing today on Arctic policy. The group has centered around the issue of affordable energy. If we're going to be the state that makes the United States an Arctic nation, then let's take advantage of it and look at the issues like affordable energy, protecting our environment, but taking advantage of those opportunities for being an Arctic state.
The Alaska State Commission for Human Rights celebrated its 50th anniversary today. The event was held at the Princess Riverside Lodge, and the keynote speaker, John Schmelzer, addressed the crowd of the advanced civil rights movements that were held in Alaska. Prior to the National Civil Rights Movement, 2 young Alaska Natives were arrested in their struggle to end segregation. 2 decades later, Alaska passed legislation to enforce human rights and eliminate discrimination. Today, that accomplishment was commended by attendees.
The Alaska Civil Rights Movement began even when Alaska was a territory, and it happened very early, and it was a very rich and very vigorous movement. The things that happened here in Alaska actually were well before they actually occurred in the lower 48.
Fairbanks Drama Association will be opening a new show Friday evening at the Riverfront Theater. The production is called Sylvia, and it's all about man's best friend. The show chronicles a man who is dissatisfied with his job and on a lonely day comes across a stray dog, Sylvia. However, you won't see a dog in this play because Sylvia is played by a female actress who speaks as if she were a dog. Sylvia brings some troubles to the man and his wife, and the show explores the bonds that are formed between humans and animals. The show opens at 8:15 p.m. Friday and will run through November 10th.
The relationships between Greg and Sylvia is wonderful, and it's an immediate man's best friend connection of forgiving and endearing love. It's about comedy and seeing the quirks that a dog has, and we're led to believe that what she says is how we view a dog would talk.
The Army is changing to a new, more modern parachute. News Center 11's Monty Bowen has details in this week's military report.
Paratroopers are often seen in training exercises in Alaska. One of the most visible sites is along the Richardson Highway outside Delta Junction. The new parachute the military is going to works well with heavier loads.
Over time, the Army has recognized that soldiers' loads have grown heavier since the original design back in the 50s. With this new parachute, it's a bigger canopy, it has a slower rate of descent, which means we can jump heavier soldiers, more equipment, and be safer because of that.
The paratroopers of the 4th Infantry Brigade Combat Team Airborne, 25th Infantry Division, conducted a unit airborne operation with the T-11 parachute system for the first time.
With the TLO, it's a slower rate of descent, which means soldiers, as they're impacting with the ground, are going at a slower pace, and that's less impact on the body and injuries to knees and hips.
The new parachute means softer landings for the soldiers.
It is a much safer parachute, especially for how hard you hit the ground, which is where we get most of our injuries. But it is different, and so when we practice it, we want to practice it without equipment at first and get everybody used to it and do a lot of rehearsals.
Monty Bowen, News Center 11.
The Military Report is brought to you by Stanley Nissan. Innovation for all.
Well, Joe, I enjoyed a healthy high school athletic career, but there always comes an end to things, correct?
Yeah. You know, covering the high school sports, you do get a little nostalgic. I remember my days in high school, and last night was senior night for a couple of high school volleyball teams. We'll see if the home teams could get wins, and also some news from the Yukon Quest. A new position will be opening soon. All that and more next in sports.